Hey, everybody, welcome to the Stay at Home family. My name is Shannon Blackwell,
And my name is Rob Blackwell,
and today we have a really awesome guest. His name is Stephen Brooks,
and
and
he is the CEO of a fascinating company called Indiana Paper Company. I want to let him describe what he does because this job is so interesting to me. Stephen, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
so the reason why we interview you, Stephen, is because a lot of our viewers are interested in kind of pursuing a home business where they can turn something that they love, so like a passion or a hobby, into kind of a like either part-time or full-time career. And we just thought your story was so interesting. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about your company.
Yeah, so I own Indiana Paper Company, and what I do is make ultra realistic crepe paper flowers, really nice quality German crepe paper. I got started because my wife was going to have our second child, and we knew we were going to name her Juliet. And I found out randomly that there's a flower called a Juliet rose.
Oh.
So I was going to surprise Annalie with a nice bouquet of Juliet roses until I found out they're practically impossible to get your hands on unless you're a florist. They're also really expensive, and I knew she wouldn't appreciate that. So I decided to make them instead. And I found a tutorial online of how to make paper flowers and thought to myself, hey, I'm crafty. And then the rest is history. I made a few that turned out okay. And then I kept making them and making different flowers. And then a friend suggested that I sell them. So here we are.
That's very cool. And when we met Stephen, he was doing a class teaching us how to make paper flowers. And I have to say, they're not very easy. He would just kind of whip them around and manipulate them, and they looked so real. And me and a lot of the teens were just trying to do this. It's not easy. So he's super uber talented. It was really impressive.
So, Stephen, let me ask you this. You mentioned before that your company kind of started with selling to friends and maybe people who suggested that you do this. How do you find clients?
Yeah, one of the biggest ways that I find clients, especially now, is a lot of word of mouth. I've put a lot of effort into Instagram and kind of focusing my branding there, and it seems to have been growing pretty steadily over the past 3 years. A lot of people in Indianapolis that come to the shows that I participate in most likely follow Indiana Paper Company on Instagram. So a lot of them will come by and say, "Hey, I follow you on Instagram. I want to see a flower."
And what kind of people, or what do people usually buy your flowers for?
The biggest thing is gifts, like Mother's Day gifts, birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, anniversary gifts. And then I limit myself to 3 to 4 weddings per year.
Wow, so you've actually done like a full wedding in all paper flowers?
Yeah, so the bride's bouquet, the bridesmaids bouquets, the boutonnieres, corsages, some centerpieces, stuff like that.
And I picked up on you said you limit yourself. Talk about the importance of limiting your role. A venture that's been going on for 3 years.
For those of you who don't know, paper flowers they take a long time to make. Depending on how many petals are in each flower, sometimes I touch each petal of a flower 4 to 5 times. So if there are 100 petals in one flower, I've touched that petal individually 4 to 5 times before it's finished on the bloom. So I have some flowers that take, maybe 15 to 20 minutes because they have maybe, 10 petals. And then some flowers take over an hour to make because they have over 100 petals. So when doing a wedding, that takes, most of the time a bouquet starts out at 10 flowers. And then you have 5 bridesmaids bouquets and then the groomsmen boutonnieres. It just takes a lot of time. So I try to limit myself to not overwhelm my own creative spirit to having to do hundreds of flowers at a time, and still allowing for other orders to come in during a wedding time frame.
Are there any problems that you ran into initially when you started your business? Any things that you didn't foresee happening as you were growing?
Yeah. So when you first start out, you don't. My philosophy was I just kind of learn as I go. I didn't do a lot of research. I knew I needed to register with the state as a business, so I did that. Paid sales tax, did all that. Just recently, actually at the beginning of this year, I got an email from another lady who was doing business as the Paper Peony, which was my previous business name. And so she sent a cease and desist to use the Paper Peony in any kind of marketing or branding. And I was just really caught off guard because I'd known a few other paper florists that have actually kind of used that name, a lady in the UK and a few other random businesses that were not, it's almost different materials. Some people are selling stationery and not paper flowers, and we're in different parts of the world, so we're not competing against each other. So it was a big surprise to hear or to read that email, and that really prompted a really fast rebranding into Indiana Paper Company, which is now in the process of getting trademarked, so we don't have that issue again. But that was a big learning experience for me. I just never thought about trademarking a brand name because it's just paper flowers in Indianapolis. Like,
Right.
seriously. So but here we are. Yeah.
That's really fascinating. So in that process of kind of discovery with maybe kind of problems, what kind of kept the juices flowing for you?
The good thing with paper flowers is there's almost an endless inspiration catalog to go through. So just being able to listen to people and hear like what flowers are their favorite, and they ask questions like, hey, can you make this kind of flower? And I say, I've never made that before, but I will try. And so it's kind of like a new challenge for me, and that kind of keeps me going, I guess. And just being able to experiment on my own to create whatever flower I have in mind, or a version of a different flower, or like even improving on previous flowers. A lot of the flowers we did at that camp, I don't even make any of those anymore. They're just so different now, just my techniques and the papers I use. So it's just kind of a continually renewing process in itself, which I really appreciate. And it helps me not fatigue of doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Right. Is there anything that you would have done differently going through the trials and things that you went through?
I guess just being more understanding of the value of what I was making. So I look back at those flowers that I first made, and they weren't great, but they still took my time, and it still took my effort and money. I was still investing into this business. And now where I am and how much time I put into it and what the finished product is, I really try to put a true value on that. And that really helps with pricing flowers and bouquets and such.
How long did it take for Indiana Paper Company to take off? And what kind of metrics do you see for its growth?
When I first started, it was in the spring of 2017, I think, and I had for a very short time, I had a very small Facebook store where I would post pictures of my products to sell. And then pretty shortly after, as people were randomly buying things or requesting things to be made, I was like, I should have a website. So I got a really cheap website. It looks great, but it's affordable, and it's a place where people can go to look at the different flowers I make. There wasn't a tipping point, if you want to call it that. It was pretty steady. Like every month I would have, a few orders this week, and a few orders the next week, and a few orders the next week. And it just kind of slowly built up. There have been a few big moments, getting a wedding. That's a big deal, and it's very public and lots of pictures from it. And people say, oh my goodness, you do weddings. Do my wedding. And so kind of moments like that are more intense areas of publicity, I would say. And then just growing consistently on Instagram, letting people see your pictures and like your pictures and just understand this is Steven's aesthetic. This is what he makes. So yeah, I would just say it's been pretty steady as far as growth.
Did the virus affect your business at all in any way?
Surprisingly, It did not as much as I thought it would. All of the weddings, except for one this past 2020, were postponed. So those are kind of being thrown into 2021 and even 2022. So just rearranging of the schedules a little bit. So that was fine. And then I still had pretty consistent monthly orders from people that would just want gifts for someone who's sick or someone's in the hospital or a friend's birthday or an anniversary. So those kept coming in consistently, thankfully.
What advice would you give to someone looking to turn their passion or unique talent into a business? Kind of what bullet points would you give them if they're looking to monetize, say, their favorite hobby?
I would say specifically if it's a hobby that is in the very broad art realm, so very visual or something along those lines, you really need to have good branding, a brand that stands out from all the other crafters of the world or all the other, similar hobbies. You've got to stand out somehow. Another bullet point I would say would be good photography. So you might make great things, but if they're not great pictures, you're just not going to pull people in,
Mm-hmm.
So I really make it a point to take good pictures of my products, and I tell other people the same. Just it's one of the easier ways you can really promote your brand by showing what you make in a really beautiful way.
So which are your favorite flowers to make?
Wow, that's a great question. I have quite a few that I really enjoy. I always enjoy the Juliet Rose. It's a classic. It was the first one I started with, and it's probably the one I've made the most of just for fun and putting in arrangements and editing the flower from what it used to be to what it is now. But I really like the dahlias that I've done most recently, actually with the help of another paper florist. It's her tutorial. She allows people to enroll in her course online, and I've been kind of learning from what I would classify as the greats of paper florists. And she has a really great tutorial for her dahlia. And so I've taken it and kind of made it my own, but with a few of her techniques as well. And it's a stunner.
Where can people go to find or purchase your flowers?
So right now, indianapapercompany.com is my home base for all paper flowers. There's a form on the website for custom orders. I'm moving to this kind of method of commissions/custom orders only. I used to have a shop where people could go in and pick certain flowers, but because I don't have any stock of flowers, it became kind of tricky, and people would order, randomly like 7 gardenias, and I'm like, oh, I need to buy gardenia paper because I don't have any of that paper. And so now it's kind of moved to this custom order way of people can go in and specifically request a certain color or flower, and then I send them a quote and they can just order it that way.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
This is really fun. We really appreciate you coming on and talking to us.
Yeah, it's really interesting when someone can take some kind of craft that's super unique and see it come into fruition, number one, but then see, like behind you, there's a wonderful piece behind you that is like gorgeous.
Those dahlias.
Yeah, I mean, just unbelievable. We think how you've done this is just super cool. So thanks for coming on, man. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Anytime.
You can find Stephen and his flowers at theindianapapercompany.com or on Instagram. You can follow us on our website at thestayatHomeFamily.com, also on Facebook and Instagram. We hope you enjoyed our video. We have more videos coming up on how to pursue your passion and turn it into a small business, so don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.